There's a great spirit rising from the desert to the sea, and as it sweeps across this southern land, it calls to you and me. We're the dreamers and the dreaming. We're the face of things yet to come. Every child can be a hero if our world can live as one. These were the words sung by Nikki Webster at the opening ceremony of the 2000 Sydney Olympic Games. Words my mother wrote to inspire the 2 billion people who watched the ceremony from across the globe. Words she wrote to share her vision for a world in which future generations will know peace, harmony, and equality. Words she wrote to remind her own children of what is truly good and precious. Words which taught me the power of hope and the magic of dreams. Mum's song says that the spirit of positivity calls to us, and I heard this call as a young girl who truly believed that if she worked hard and dreamed big, anything was possible. My ambition was admirable, but not unique. Children everywhere live and breathe this optimism. It's in bedtime stories, a formula for good and bad, injustice and heroism, stitched into the very fabric of our childhood. And then, at some stage or another, we grow up. As a young person, I knew I wanted to be a problem solver. I thought that by studying international relations, I'd be better equipped to help solve global problems. Unfortunately, what I learnt in my first year of university was that my jeans had been made in a sweatshop by girls half my age. A sweatshop monitored by auditors employed by the brand. Auditors who gave notice when they were coming and who couldn't speak to any of the workers without the presence of management. I learned that employees of big international organisations I had once viewed as the global watchdogs were also customers of the child sex prostitution rings they were supposed to be shutting down. I learned that while the number of people in poverty is declining, the gap between rich and poor is growing wider, with the top 1% owning more than 50% of the world's wealth. I learned that there were more than 40 million displaced people in the world. Today, that number exceeds 60 million. I learned that a lot of people do care more about their smartphone than they do about hungry children, and that all social issues are underpinned by economics and politics. I learned that before I was going to be able to assist with the suffering of any one individual, I was going to have to work on solving a much bigger problem. I was going to have to help to change the system. So, in a moment of confusion and frustration, I turned to Google, as we millennials tend to do. If people weren't donating their money to charity, I wanted to understand where it was all going. So I typed, what are people spending their disposable income on? And what I found is that one of the fastest growing and most stable industries is actually gaming. But what astounded me more than the amount of money people were investing online was the time. In a favourite TED talk of mine by Jane McGonigal, she shares the fact that globally we spend 3 billion hours a week playing video games. So I started to take note of what games people were playing in my own life. And at this time, 8 years ago, Farmville really was a big hit. If you don't know the game, it's one that lets you take care of your own virtual farm. And that's when I had my light bulb moment. I began to notice friends and family, young teenagers and 50-year-old women waking up in the middle of the night to feed a 2D chicken. And so, like Jane, I became determined to harness just some of that time and energy. It's that level of absolute commitment that we need for solving global problems. Why can we only be superheroes in games? Why can't the games we play be real? What if, as well as growing pixels online, millions of players were equally passionate about growing real produce and saving lives? So I extended my studies to include gaming and technology, and I used these questions to formulate a unique value proposition for my work. I would be building digital experiences with real-world outcomes. And right from the start, I was pretty clear on what those outcomes would look like. Earlier, I spoke about changing the system. Well, the benefits of technology are certainly not distributed equally across the globe. And while technology can be a powerful tool for change, it's also driving inequality. And that's really scary. But instead of just wishing that we could shut down the internet, I simply sat down and wrote out a plan for how I think we can provide online entertainment more ethically. And at the core of this plan was 3 key values: the promotion of empathy, equality, and connection. My plan had to have a name. In Latin, the word Orbis means world. I was building an Orbis space, a world space. And it wouldn't be just a single digital experience. No. It was a vision for the future of digital giving, embedded in a social movement led by young people who weren't keen to just sit around and wait and see what their future would look like, but who were committed to driving, innovating, and demanding technological experiences with positive, real-world outcomes. But how was I going to achieve all this when so many before me had fallen short, or just didn't see the value in trying? Well, if all social issues are underpinned by economics and politics, I thought it was best to start there. When it comes to economics, I've always viewed supply chains as straight lines. The product gets manufactured at the start of the chain, as cheaply as possible, sometimes exploitatively. Then, as it makes its way down the chain, everyone takes their cut, until finally the wealthy sell the product to the privileged. But what I wanted to do was turn those straight lines into circles, cyclical business models fostering intricate webs within which everyone benefits. Business models with charitable outcomes, but not just dependent on charity. Business models for giving. So I did. And it started to look a little like this: a digital platform uniting gamers and givers with people in remote and disadvantaged communities. But let's break that down. So we've got some gamers. They're just people accessing the platform for fun and entertainment. Everyone can play for free, but some gamers might have some cash to spend, so they could purchase an in-game power-up or a bonus. But there are also some other games in a different location. Let's say a remote and disadvantaged community, like the Za'atari refugee camp. There's a great community of gamers there, with more than 50% of people having access to the internet and more than 85% with mobile phones. So, you're gaming together. Let's imagine it's a soccer experience. You're playing soccer online. But just like in the real world, the soccer ball you're playing with is a product, a branded product with unique features. So that means we've got private sector partners, big companies like a sporting label who's willing to pay for that digital content creation and marketing. And then, like all good games, there has to be a win. And this really is the best part. I want you to imagine that you've won that soccer ball. But when you win, you get to see a real refugee community receive a real soccer ball in the real world. Because by leveraging marketing and CSR, social corporate responsibility funds from the private sector, we can pay for the delivery of that real-world aid. And sure, many gamers might not have started out caring about or even understanding their fellow gamers in the Za'atari refugee community. But just by being on that platform, they've exchanged their time and energy for entertainment. And we've exchanged that with corporates to pay for the delivery of real-world aid. But the Orbis-based model isn't just about providing physical aid, it's also about providing emotional aid. And this is where the politics comes into it. Emerging technologies are providing us with exciting new opportunities for empathy building between users and powerful storytelling. Because technology, which brings us closer together, can change hearts and minds. Social gaming narratives can inform, educate, and let us problem solve together as a community. Using volumetric film, we're able to capture 3D images of the human body. This is a video I created of a user experience featuring me, a volumetric capture of my body, giving a speech to a different audience, a virtual audience, somewhere else. That's right, in the not too distant future, we could all be attending TED in VR. Using this new technology, we can recreate authentic representations of people and places that might otherwise seem a world away. And we've all heard of VR referred to as the empathy machine, but in the future, empathy won't just grow from voyeurism, but from social, human-centered online experiences. Because when we work, learn, and play together inside an Orbis-based model, refugees become our teammates, drought-stricken farmers become our neighbours, and children in remote and disadvantaged communities, say Indigenous communities, become our friends. Here's a video I created to help share my vision for what I think the future of digital giving is going to look like.
Whoever you are physically, male or female, young or old, strong or weak, all of these things matter less than what your heart contains. Together, we can change the world. And it starts right here, right now, with you. From your home, at the office, in the classroom, while you're waiting for the bus. The Orbis space is not ruled by time or place. Inside it, you're more powerful than ever before. The games you play become moments in history. The rewards you win become a reality.
So, everyone take out your mobile phone. Thank you. Quickly, take out your mobile phone. You've got 15 seconds. I want you to play on your favourite app. Go. It can be anything that you enjoy playing or looking at, any digital content on your mobile. Okay, great job, stop. Now I want you to imagine that you all just earned 10 cents by doing nothing other than what you already love doing, logging onto a platform that you enjoy. At its peak, Farmville had more than 34 million daily active users. That means, based on the model I've just described, Farmville would be able to give $3.5 million, or nearly $3.5 million, to a community they care about right now, right here, today. I hope that by describing a digital world that grows from empathy and understanding, we can also put out a big challenge to big companies to disrupt their current business models and recreate new ones within which social and financial returns are not oppositional. Because giving shouldn't just be relegated to charity. It needs to be embedded in our design, our business, and our technology. I was once afraid that all the hard lessons I was learning as a young person were teaching me that I was naive, that the world didn't work the way my childhood self had imagined or my mother's music had described. But now I know the true lesson. As important as our search for what the world is, or what it has been, is a clear vision for what we want the world to become. Because as people, as consumers, and as innovators, we have the power to shape our digital future. And the Orbis space is a blueprint for what I think it should look like.